Welcome back. I'm very happy to have you here. Um, Today we're going to talk about what the goal of meditation is, specifically in regards to yoga. So when I say yoga, I am referring to the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Um, and if you don't know what that is, that's fine. We're going to talk about it. So I definitely won't be giving a discourse or commentary on the sutras themselves, but I will be talking about the progression of meditation outlined in the sutras, which is what my lineage bases the progression of practice on. However, the goal of meditation in general for different people will have different verbalized um, understanding. So for a Buddhist, the goal is cessation, nirvana. For a common individual, meditation is something to de-stress, maybe on the weekends, or go to some kind of yoga center and you meditate as you do your postures and all of this. It's just a way to increase our calmness and maybe increase our mental health. Um, However, that is certainly a byproduct of meditation is uh, overcoming barriers to mental wellness and mental well-being. But the goal of meditation in the sutras and my lineage also is something referred to as liberation. So liberation means you are destined to be freed from the cycle of birth and death. Now, maybe we don't believe in past lives, that's okay. You can still consider it to be liberation from suffering, and that is also included in the traditional understanding. So, where does it all start? Um, well, when we sit to meditate, automatically we are observing a few different things. We are being nonviolent. We are controlling ourselves. So we are undergoing some observances when we sit to meditate, or when we lay down to meditate, or when we have a support to meditate. It doesn't have to be one posture. Um, so that would be kind of what's automatically covered in your practice. So my lineage doesn't really make a big point to make a fuss about them. And also, people on the path are generally pretty moral, pretty righteous, I would say, especially when you get deep enough to be taking on a guru. So the next part would be asana. Asana means, roughly, it means posture. So it means how we engage with this is to be comfortable. So we want to be comfortable when we're sitting. So you can stretch before you meditate so you're not so tight, or you can have pillows to set you up, or if you are in way too much pain or are disabled in some way, laying down is perfectly fine, or however is best for you. After asana, we will begin working with breath control. So this is different from just watching the breath. We are actively controlling the breath to produce a certain result in meditation. A very simple pranayama technique, and I will link that down below. My guru teaches this to anyone and everyone who will hear it. It's called heart rate variability resonant. Heart rate variability resonant breathing. What it means is there are three main things you need to keep in mind for this, and the video down below will talk about all of this in much greater detail than I'll go into here. But it would be less than 7 breaths per minute, an out breath which is longer than the in breath, so you're spending more time breathing out than breathing in, and you're not actively holding the breath at the top or the bottom or anywhere in between. So it's just a natural flowing breath. It's not rushed or anything. but it's naturally flowing and you're not restricting it. After pranayama, as it's called, breath control, progresses, you may encounter the tranquil breath, or what Patanjali calls the fourth phase of breath, which he considers to be beyond all other kinds of breath. Why is it beyond all other kinds of breath? Because it, for one, it's effortless, so you're not actively controlling it at that point. 2, it only occurs in a deep state of relaxation. 3, you will notice maybe it becomes really shallow. And the key part here is your need for oxygen has diminished. Your metabolism has slowed down. You're in a low idle state. You're very relaxed. And so what the pranayama did is it got you out of the sympathetic nervous system and got you into the parasympathetic nervous system, and you're very relaxed. And I should mention, I think it's important, for asana, you're going to be sitting very still. And you're not tight, restricting movement, but you just want to be relaxed. You're not, if you're in a posture that you have to constantly readjust, I would recommend finding a new posture, because the more you keep moving, the less able you're going to be at getting into very deep states. So, furthering pranayama, then we get into the tranquil breath, and that's a very good thing if you get to the tranquil breath, even if it's so. With controlling the breath, we're going in and out. With the tranquil breath, it's a little different. You may notice at first, instead of these big sweeping breaths at first, it may be like that kind of breathing, very small. Or it may start to increase, and it's just kind of flowing. And it's, your chest is no longer being activated, it's more automatic stomach breathing. And then it may become like really slow. And then it may go and where'd it go? Where's my breath? And it sweeps back. And it's over there, and you're like, I'm not breathing. What's going on? And some people get scared. But this is what's called kumbhaka. So when we do breath holds, we're doing a conscious kumbhaka. And when the tranquil breath gets to a point where the breathing temporarily ceases, that's a natural kumbhaka. That's the real kumbhaka. So when tranquil breath becomes more advanced and the body is very still, we get into something called pratyahara. And pratyahara, you may have noticed, was developing the whole while we were doing pranayama. And you'll notice it in whatever part is most relaxed. So you'll notice tingling on the skin, and tingling up the arms, or whatever's most relaxed, tingling in your legs. Or very advanced, you may notice your perception of a limb may disappear. You can't feel that limb anymore, or that shoulder, or your stomach. You can't feel it. Where has it gone? So that's a sign that the process of the mind that reaches out through the senses is reversing, and that's pratyahara. So, all of these are pratyahara. It's a sliding scale. And a full pratyahara is when you no longer perceive the body at all. And so, it may feel like you're just kind of a mind floating in a vast emptiness or something. Or you're just a mind sitting here. but you can't sense, you don't sense your body at all. That would be a full pratyahara. From there, we can start to concentrate much easier and in a much more natural manner than we were when we were back fully externalized. When we think we need to concentrate like a dart, like a bullet, when in reality concentration happens like this. It opens and allows. That's concentration. That is dharana, the next step in Patanjali's progression. So when dharana progresses, and what does it progress on? What are you focusing on? You can focus really on any number of things. You can have an image, an ideal of the divine you're focusing on. However, with yoga, and Kriya Yoga specifically, we're focusing on the spiritual eye. Now, what is the spiritual eye? It's an inner light that we see in meditation. It will appear as if it's in front of us, and it's of the same quality, similar to if you look at a light bulb, right, and you stare at it for a few seconds, and you close your eyes, and the shape of the light bulb appears like blue. Because maybe it's yellow, it appears blue, or it's white, and you see the shape of the light. So it appears in that way, the same way that light appears inside of you, inside of your mind. And just like that light, if you're in a dark room, maybe you'll see it with your eyes open. So you'll stare at a light, and then you'll turn it off, and you can still see the glow of the light. And you can look away, and you'll still see the glow of the light. It's kind of like that. What does it look like? Generally, it's an orb, a circle of some kind, and the color can vary. So maybe it looks like a dark circle, some people say it looks like a cave, and it'll be a darker black than the surrounding darkness. Maybe it's a blue orb. Maybe it's a white ring with a darker circle in the middle. Maybe it's a yellow ring with a darker circle in the middle. Maybe it's a blue orb with a yellow ring around it, or a white ring. And when we first see it, it'll be far away. It'll usually look like it's far away. It'll be very small. And what is the process? What are we attempting to do with the spiritual eye? Well, we're attempting to have it come towards us and wrap around us. And by the time it wraps around our perception fully, we are in dhyana, we're in meditation. So how do you get from dharana to dhyana? So essentially what we're trying to do is, how do we get the spiritual eye to come around us? So typically we want to jump into the spiritual eye, but you can't do it that way. Because that jumping and doing and pointing and working at it like that isn't what real focus, real concentration is about. That increases your stress and takes you out of the meditative states you've entered into. So what's the trick? There are a couple ways. My guru teaches one way that's very good. So it works best this is something you can use to get used to practicing this. You have like a room with two distinct sides on it, and you pick a single point in the middle, and you put your center of your vision there, and you take in the peripheral, everything in your periphery. And I believe it's a Hawaiian practice called hakala. And what it does is it takes you out of this closed, squeezed, stressed kind of focus and into an expansion kind of focus, an allowing kind of focus. And that is how we really get the spiritual eye to come towards us. So what we may notice eventually, it'll get closer and it'll look more big. And then we'll get closer and it'll look like it's all on top of us. And eventually it'll start to wrap around us. And I had a very beautiful experience once where it felt like the spiritual eye was hugging me. And it was like a warm hug, warm, silent presence of a hug. So my guru has a story he likes to tell that it seemed like the spiritual eye came down and kissed his forehead. Very beautiful. So when that happens, maybe we can see that ring, it can kind of whoosh, whoosh over us, and it may look like sheet lightning. So those are some ways that you can progress through the stage of dharana into dhyana. And of course, this is all stuff you'll have to figure out on your own. And if you don't have the vision of the spiritual eye, that's okay. There are ways you can work on that too, and I will do my best to link some of that down below. And I highly recommend following my guru. He's much more knowledgeable than I am on all of this. So once we're in dhyana, meditation, which would be real meditation according to the Yoga Sutras. We haven't been meditating yet up to this point. So once we get there, we will usually experience great silence, great stillness, and great expansiveness. And this is what many meditators will say is the void, this void experience they had. Well, you're in meditation at that point. You're in dhyana. That's the dhyana state. However, the ultimate goal of this process, and what we're trying to get at here, is samadhi, which is not just a void experience. So once we're in meditation, the goal of getting there is to get to samadhi. What are the signs of samadhi? Well, all that silence, that stillness, that expansiveness is still there. And you will then experience oneness of some kind along with bliss. So it's a positive bliss. It's not an empty peace. That is a hallmark of samadhi. And there are two types of samadhi. There are, two categories of samadhi. One is sabikalpa, or with an object of meditation. So maybe your object of meditation is the bliss. Maybe your object of meditation is the oneness. So you're observing the oneness. You're like here at a point. You still have like a me. You're still like, I am here. You still have that kind of feeling. But you're looking out onto this experience of oneness. And so the other kind of, other category of samadhi is nirvikalpa samadhi, which is where you're not looking here or experiencing there or feeling the divine. You kind of just completely merge and you kind of blow out. So you no longer have a sense of self very much or not at all. You don't have a sense of self anymore. You are blown out onto everything. You are not here looking out onto yourself as a oneness experience. You simply become all of it at once. And this isn't the ultimate goal of the practice, because the ultimate goal is liberation, as he said. So nirvikalpa samadhi itself is not the goal. the goal is Dharma Mega Samadhi. Now, what is Dharma Mega Samadhi? That is Dharma, in this case, is knowledge of the divine. So, the knowledge gained in Nirvikalpa Samadhi. And in this case, what kind of knowledge, what quality of knowledge is that? Is it intellectual? No. This kind of knowledge is experiential. And more deeply, you become the knowledge. And maybe that's difficult to explain, to understand for some. However, the other aspect of Dharma Mega is the mega part. So mega means a cloud. So you become a cloud of knowing. What does that mean? It means no longer do you need to sit down to meditate to experience samadhi, but you can experience samadhi walking around with eyes open. And this would be essentially Nirvikalpa Samadhi with eyes open. And it is the exact same thing that Ramana Maharshi refers to when he says Sahaja Samadhi. So, when you become very well established in Dharma Mega Samadhi, such that you have a continuous or extremely constant experience of this deep oneness, and you become just a cloud of existence that floats through the world. It's like you're floating through the world. You're not a person walking around and trudging through life anymore. And at that point, you are nearly constantly blissful, maybe not to such an extreme extent, such an exalted extent, but you're peaceful and joyful for sure. And you have a sense of peace that is constant. And you no longer have these deep and pervasive psychological issues that many of us struggle with. And you no longer have such desires to harm others. You're very loving and compassionate. But you may not lose the ability for sternness. That certainly has a time and place. So essentially, that is the goal of meditation, to be actually free and walking around, to be free from life's problems, to be free from anything anyone could say to you, to be free from anything anyone could do to you. Now, of course, the body will still have its pain, and you will still experience negative emotions at times. Maybe you'll feel sad, maybe you'll feel emotional pain witnessing other people in pain. These are all natural human emotions, but you don't suffer them. You're not resistant to them anymore. And ultimately, that is the goal of meditation, to get to a point, clarity, knowledge, union, oneness, and harmony with life as it really is, which is free from affliction and blissful, joyful, and full of meaning and purpose. So many people get stuck in that void experience and they think, oh, I've done it, I'm enlightened, I have this peace and this silence. But then they may become very nihilistic, sometimes suicidal, because they don't see any meaning, they don't see purpose in life. And that's a dangerous trap for many spiritual seekers, isn't it? So the insurance policy of Kriya Yoga and yoga in general is that you can know you're not finished or not by observing, do I experience a non-localized bliss that is all pervasive? So, and that is a key detail as well. So the bliss is not like pleasure in the body. It's not like you feel physically good, like with an orgasm, for example, or feeling a nice breeze. It's not that kind of bliss. Those are more pleasurable things, and it's also not. Maybe in meditation, a lot of the times our chakras get very blissful. It's not that either, because those are locatable in the body. I can say, well, that's down here in my stomach, or that's in my head, or that's in my throat. I have this bliss. Or on my forehead, I have this bliss. The bliss of samadhi is everywhere. It doesn't have a location. It's immaterial. These are some ways you can describe it and experience it. So if that is not there, you have not had a complete samadhi. And if that is not there, you aren't finished. you got work. You got some more work to do. So ultimately, what is the goal of meditation? The goal of meditation is freedom. It's freedom, knowledge. That's certainly a part of it. But more crucially, it's freedom. We all want to be free. And learning a proper way of meditating can greatly increase our chances of finding freedom. Many people meditate for 10, 20, 40 years and struggle to find peace in meditation because maybe they're trying to stress themselves out with concentration and they just push through. And meditation becomes a chore and they hate it, but they keep doing it because they want to be free. And it takes them a long time to realize they've been doing it wrong. And that's why they haven't found success. And just following these simple techniques that my guru so graciously offers, that are the basic fundamentals of pranayama and sitting to meditate, we can skip 20 and 40 years of meditation. Isn't that wonderful? I was very blown away by the breathing practice I will share below. I had my skeptical doubts at first because I've never done any pranayama before. And all of my meditation has been completely intuitive. I was lucky, fortunate. I was at the hands of grace very intensely that I found success in meditation experientially. However, I was blown away by the power of this simple technique of heart rate variability breathing. It's scientific, first of all. Psychologists use this and teach it to children because it works on the mechanics of your body. And that is what yoga has always done. It's a science of the body, and people don't really get that. So, I hope I was able to explain this clearly and effectively. I hope it made sense. If you have questions, please ask them in the comments. I will do my best to answer them. If you have feedback from me, I would love to hear it. And I wish everyone a very, very easy meditative journey, one that is filled with increased calmness day by day. Yeah, that's really all I have to share. With whatever power I can, whatever power I have to offer blessings, bless every one of you. Thank you for watching very much. Goodbye. See you next time. That's better than goodbye, isn't it?